Yo, what's up guys? Two things I want to talk about in this video. First of all, what modules should you up, what modules should you not up? Because currently, probably everyone has been farming a decent amount of modules. If not, still have a little bit of hours left to do that. But you probably will notice that if you go to the modules tab, you have a shit ton of modules at some point. I'm rocking, like I'm already stacking out on the 2000s, but especially the ones that I've been farming a lot from Doki Doki. So Time Weave is one of those sets that you get in Doki Doki. You kind of get the feeling, but even the ones for the special ones, there they are, the special cores. Already did upgrade a few of them, did sell a bunch of them as well, but EvoGuard I didn't really touch much, and you can see how much I farmed the Inferno. So in this video, I want to be explaining how do I go through what modules I do upgrade and what modules I don't. I wouldn't right away go for selling everything, because in the end, every sell is just simply a 5,000 of your Etheria coin, which is a decent amount, but it's also not the craziest amount where I would say like, ooh, that's really a must to do. Currently, I'm sitting at 7.6 mil. I still have a lot more farming to do because I still have 31 over here and another 400 coming in here. So that's definitely still a lot of stuff that I have to go through. So the first thing I always do is remove flats. So flat attack, flat HP, flat defense. And then, of course, you see all of the modules that you normally have on the left side. For you guys, this is the left side. But I then selected on this, and which will select all of them that are pretty much straight up useless. I do like to check for them if something has maybe speed in there. Like, for example, this one. With the Swift raids, like the special ones, I would be a little bit more careful and not actually feed in everything. But with the ones of Swift itself, Swift Rush, I would say you can still keep like 3 lined and give that a try if it goes for a 6. But besides that, you would probably do simply this. This one already tried. That one I still want to give a try. Well, definitely if it is the 2 lines, guaranteed sell. So you can also select the 2 lines over here, which is really useful. Anything that's 2 lined, immediately sell if it's a flat stat. We don't need any of those. The 3 lines and the 4 lines, we check if any of them have speed in there. Well, EvoGuard, I could maybe keep that because it's an HP flat, Time Weave, attack flat. I would try if that rolls in the first try. So we have that over here. 1 lines we don't have. And then for the 3 lines, it's going to be everything that does not have speed in there. Also, you mainly want to be looking at the 2-piece sets. What you do want to keep in mind, for example, Time Weave, if it's a 12 set, 12 set, you always want to fix late game with 4 pieces of 3, and you don't want to be using any 2 pieces anymore. So anything that is a 2-piece is technically immediately a sell for any set that is going towards a 12 set itself. So for speed, I mostly do want to kind of give more value to those. So we did already filter a bunch of those. For the right side, so your guys' right side modules and shells, so the ones that are the cores, I would be a little bit more careful on the 2 pieces, because it might simply be anything that would be more interesting towards you just getting the main set of HP bonus in there. And those are a little bit more rare. So the easiest one to filter are actually the ones on the left side. Left side are very easy. It's like, okay, if it has 2 stats, that doesn't really matter. Just straight up sell. And that's the main thing. Also, in this case, you can definitely go for a double line in here. And you can just simply start selling everything that is supposed to be a 12 set, but is not showcased as a 12 set in here, because you're going to be using a 2. Especially for the ones on the left side of your module. So those are like the mask, those are like the ring and the other thing. Those things, I would just straight up, well, I would say select everything. Is there anything super useful in here? Nope. Swift Rush, I maybe want to give some more credit, but then again, if I want to get this speed in, I will already have to +9 it. +9 is already pretty expensive. I don't even want to do that. So for me, that is already straight up a sell as well. Anything that is an 8-piece set, such as Bulwark, for example, you can make the exception because you can make it 2-3-3 to actually get in there. But then again, I would still say if there's just 2 substats on it, the moment you roll into speed or anything useful, it's most likely already too expensive. So I would just straight up recommend to sell those. And that is all for these. Oh, wait, we still have to do... these are the 2 pieces for the cores. And the cores, as mentioned, is a little bit more like, okay, you want to be careful with selling all of your cores. Especially also keep in mind, sell the things that you're farming actively at the moment. So for example, I could start selling the battle wheels because they're maybe not that great, but I'm not actively farming battle wheel at the moment. So therefore it's better to keep a little bit more of those. Whereas for example, these over here, I've been farming an insane amount of those. And at that point, it's like, okay, just start selling a little bit more. And you can be a little bit less careful with whatever you use or don't use. Okay, then it goes into the part like, okay, we did sell a whole bunch, but what do you then actually start upgrading? Also, I noticed I still have the defense set over here, so then we don't have these. Two-piece, two-piece. Yeah, this is pretty much all. Let's see if one of the bulwarks. Nah, none of these I probably want to keep. So straight up, sell. Well, then for the 3 lines, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. It's like, okay, still you want to be doing the things that have a 3-tap, probably straight up selling, but if they're 2-tap, they could be useful. And the thing is, 3 lines is actually really good. Like, people might say it's like, oh, the only thing I care is 4 lines, and then 4 lines preferably with speed. Yeah, makes sense. But a 3 line is actually really good because a 3 line, let me get a decent example. Let's say we have, that one already has speed in there. I think the better examples are probably on the right side. So let's go for something like this. Let's see, we have one over here. Yep, that's a perfect example. You can get speed in this one. And then sure, you're going to get the first speed roll potentially in the 6. But it's definitely worth to do that 3 over here. But in this case, it is a swift rate, so we'll be keeping it. This one does already have that. Here, same thing, speed in there. Exactly what I mean. So rolling a 3 line is definitely really recommended. Rolling a 2 line is mostly one of those like, yeah, you probably have to go all the way plus 9 before you get a double roll in anything. And that's kind of where it gets too expensive already. So 3 lines in most cases, if they have a good subset or a good main stat in here, I definitely like to give those just like the 3 extra just to see. And the first 3 are definitely like the cheapest thing you can do out there. And I would tend to do that for most of those just to see what's in the final line. And then from there, you can always decide later to start selling them or not sell them. But that is definitely a high recommendation to do. But then again, what do you actually start upgrading for the most bit? Because the moment I start upgrading this by a fair bit, you start losing that a lot. Well, I think for what I personally do is I start checking like, hey, what kind of unit am I trying to build right now? And I just specifically focus those modules on those units. And sure, you're going to be speed chasing, especially if you're farming Doki Doki like I have. And what I then mostly tend to do is actually go from here, select it on the Swift brush, and just start checking like, okay, what do we have things for speed? Okay, let's see. Can you roll into speed in the next one? It's actually a pretty good one. Can be used regardless of what it rolls. We can check speed, speed in the 9. Okay, speed in the 9. Then I could continue. But it's also kind of checking like, okay, what do you already have? Because let's say you already have like a 13 or a 14 in here. Sure, in speed, you do need like multiple of those. But that's kind of the thing where you start checking is like, okay, do we really need that? Well, in this case, it is definitely a fine one, but it's not really going to get like the perfect upgrade that I am seeking for. And that's also kind of the way that I go through it. I just up to the 6. Okay, no crit rate or no speed in there. Let's see, you on the 6, no speed in there. Next one, you on the 6. Doesn't speed in there. Okay, next one, do we get speed again? Okay, not speed again. Can we get speed on the 12er then? We get speed on the 12er. Can we get speed on the 15er? Too bad. But yeah, that's kind of how I get along with those. Like, I try to keep my upgrades as low as possible. And also, if you see like the 2 pieces over here, it is possible to still try to give them an upgrade. But then again, you will know that the far end game, you're never actually going to be using this set. So it's one of those things you could do, but if you're somewhat low on this, like you already see, I just did like a few pieces. I'm down a mil already. It goes so super fast. So you really have to be careful of what you're using, where you're using it. And then you also have like a whole bunch of those, which I think for, well, if it has like a stat line of this, like sure you could say it's like, oh, let's say that the 3rd one was already shown, like it's this. You could say it's like, oh, immediately sell, but I could see some Swift Rush also being useful for a damage line. But you definitely want to be careful with not upping too much. And therefore, I would definitely recommend to focus on the 3 line pieces, or the 3 line pieces in here, and then the 2 set pieces. So for that sake, that it's that super expensive, I highly recommend to aim for the 3 pieces in here, and then also minimum 3 lines. And from there, you just try to kind of start to get the right things in. Also, I would first recommend to focus on your cores, because cores are going to be more rare in the first place. So getting a good core with a good main stat and then a good speed substat or something like this is a lot more important than the other way around. More speed, ooh, I like the juice of this. More speed, too bad, but still useful roll. And then the final piece in speed, too bad. Well, it's not useless, but that's kind of the thing. But yeah, you do notice already, it's like upping 1 is like 700. And I thought it was a 3. That's bad on my part. Well, you can still use Swift Rush and Broken Set. But yeah, I did exactly what I wasn't supposed to do. And I told you guys not to do. And then I did it myself. So mistakes were made. Let's see if this one rolls any good. Because if it just ignores this, which it did already roll in, it will be really good. And now it goes super rainbow roll-ish, which is kind of bad. This one can be super good as well. Looks very good. Okay, not the greatest. Speed in there. Okay. Speed on the 12. Too bad. 15. Rainbow rolls. I don't really like those, but yeah, it's definitely a thing that can still be used. So yeah, kind of like that. I tried to get through all of my things, but I think I should be selling those 2 pieces faster because then I cannot make the mistake in rolling into them. But as you can see, there's also a whole bunch of those where it's like, yeah, I'm not really sure about all of those stats. Are you going to be rolling all of those? No, most likely not. Most likely I won't be rolling. Like for Swift Rush, most of the time you kind of are speed chasing in the first place. But if you go for, let's say, a damage set, I did farm a fair bit of momentum for... Well, I do have a lot of Harvest right now, so let's actually see what we have for Harvest. Harvest, I would definitely say that I do care about my crit damage, or the crit rate or attack. So those I would be having more focus on rolling. Like, for example, this already has all of the lines. That's a really good one to roll for. This one, it's okay if it doesn't roll the effective rest. This is also a 2-piece. But a 2-piece, this is in the end an 8 set. So 8 set, you can still get away with a 2-piece, so it's not as bad. But yeah, those are the kind of things you have to keep in mind. This one could also be very nice. Nope, immediately goes into something bad. And that's also kind of the thing. Like, if you go for a +3 and you already see it's like, oh, the +3 already made it kind of bad, just stop rolling it. But for example, I could start rolling all of these. It's like, oh, maybe I can get a good Harvest set. But if I don't exactly know where I want to be placing that Harvest set in, don't roll it. Because I want to only roll things like, sure, for speed chasing, you can just kind of see it's like, okay, I'm going to use that regardless. Doesn't really matter where. But if you have a very specific set, let's say a Bramble set, or you have like a very specific set for anything else, like a Time Weave, sure, those you want to just start focusing on the moment you have like, okay, I want to have this unit on Time Weave, and therefore I'm going to be upgrading these modules and these shells. If that's not the case, Bulwark and Swift Rush are the most all-round sets. I think that those are the sets that you will see the most in the first place, because Swift Rush, Swift Rush, Swift Rush, Swift Rush, where more Swift Rush, Swift Rush. Like, you get the idea. Swift Rush, you cannot really go wrong if you just upgrade a bunch of Swift Rushes. But a lot of the other things are a lot more like specific towards like what character are you upping for. Like, for example, I could start upping these kind of things, but I only really need that on a Rahul or something else like that. So therefore, I'm not using a lot less resource on that. But already, I just upgraded a few small things, and I'm already like down a lot of Etheria coins. So always be careful with your Etheria coin. And yeah, maybe it's actually the moment that you do start farming a decent amount of either Health 4 or Inferno or both. That is where you just simply want to be pretty strict on what you sell. And maybe you even get to the point where you just say it's like, okay, anything with a 2-piece, we just start selling. Also, a thing I have heard some people make the mistake about is they started selling all of those things like, oh, I just like need extra Etheria coin, let me sell all of my epics. Yes, is an option, but I would kind of hold off on doing that until you actually know for sure that you have a better version. Because, for example, I could sell this one, but I do still remember that this one is from time to time used, mainly just for being an accuracy and being a speed. I think I have a better one at the moment. I'm actually pretty sure I have better ones at the moment. But it still could be like, oh, you have to complete a set, or you have to just get like a broken thing in there, and then it totally works. Like this one, for example, is straight up garbage. It's not even having speed in there, so that's straight up a sell. This is straight up a sell. This one I'm not 100% sure about because I don't farm Terramaton, and that's also a main thing to keep in mind. If you're not farming a certain stage, be more careful on selling those modules, because you might not have the completed set if you do actually want to get a completed set in there. Whereas the things that I'm farming a shit on, for example, these over here, well, those are actually, this one is pretty garbage. Yeah, that's kind of the ones where you can check more out. Like, okay, do I actually want to sell this? Like, same for these. And this one is also hot garbage. So definitely you can start selling those. And you do notice you get a fair bit amount back as well. So that is something to keep in mind. Also, a thing to keep in mind is at some point you have a lot of those things that I up to the 3. And I checked with the 3 is like, oh, did it actually get the correct stat that I wanted on the 3? No, if it didn't get the correct stat that I wanted on the 3, just sell it as well. So that's also definitely a thing. So let's say that I want to go this, well, that's a Fury, that's totally fine. This one, I did try out, I didn't get the stat I want, sell. This one, I didn't get the stat that I want, sell. It's a 2-piece, it does have speed in there, but sell for that one. This one as well, Strife. Well, Strife is an 8 set. You can still keep that in there, but sell. This one, it did roll This one, and the only perfect set I can line in is this, so probably not going to be used, not great, sell. Bulwark, these two, well, this one only wants to get speed, maybe attack, sell. This one didn't get anything good, sell. This one, just flat defense, no speed, sell. So those are the kind of things that you can at some point look into. And then suddenly we see it's like, yo, we get 1.2 mil Etheria coin back. And that is just doing the +3s. But when you do the +3s, like I'm pretty sure that, is there actually a stat bonus in here for something showing my +3s? No, it's not. But that is at some point, like you can just see like the +3s in here. And this is where, for example, like sure, the Swift rates are super rare, so I'm going to be keeping more of those. But I see, for example, this Accuracy, Evo Guard, probably not going to be used. This one, not going to be used. This one, I tried to roll it, not going to be used. This one didn't roll in speed in the first one, not going to be used. This one didn't roll in the 6 in speed, not going to be used. Not going to be used. Not going to be used. So sure, they could potentially still roll insanely good. But they didn't roll in the first thing that I wanted. Like this one, I maybe go for a keep for like a damager. But yeah, in the end, you get way more modules than you actually have Etheria coin to actually use all of your stuff in there. So for that reason, yeah, probably sell more than you expect to sell. That's definitely a thing. So you actually only want to start rolling things if they already started off with like 1 or 2 good rolls, because doing all the way to +15 is super expensive. And right away, you can see I'm back on like 2.7 mil. So highly recommended for that. No better. Well, I kind of wanted to write down the things I said, but you just have to listen to my yapping then. But the thing that I also wanted to talk about is what am I going to do after the 2x? So this team, it does sometimes feel like 4 or 5, but most of the times it feels like 1 or 0. It's just super RNG. Someone did actually mention, I'm testing that out right now, that you should select no character that you should be using your skills on. So therefore, the Romocha will always target the one that has the debuffs on it, so it will focus more on armor break, for example. Yeah, from what I've noticed, it's not really working that much better, because if you focus on the main boss in the second wave, you will deal a lot less damage to the side things, because it probably just has more damage or something like that. So I'll just use it as I had it before. So then, what to do after 2x? Well, first of all, when is the next 2x coming? We don't know. They didn't tell us yet. They didn't tell if this is going to be a weekly thing, bi-weekly, monthly, half a year, or maybe every time they fuck up. I have no clue, and they didn't mention. Maybe it's even the last time. They haven't mentioned it, but after this, I will be saving those once again. But it's actually even before the 2x. What am I going to do is I am going to reset Romocha. And people might be like, yeah, but then you cannot do Doki Doki anymore. It's like, brother, by the moment we end the 2x, I threw about 8 to 9k stability into Doki Doki. I think I'm good on Doki Doki for a fair bit. I don't have to do Doki Doki for a pretty long time after that. Sure, I will be going back to Doki Doki at some point, but that will probably be in a few weeks, and in a few weeks I will have a different team that I can work with. Plus, my Romocha, it is really good. It has absolutely the perfect stats for it. The count is exceptionally good, but it is not a must for the other units. So reset a real Romocha. And we still have the event rocking on until midnight for me able to do a reset. So she will be in this reset over here, because I do want to get those back, and that's just highly useful to do those. Might you ask, where are you going to put those two then? I have 2 options. I either go for a class skill 1 max, because of the hacking value is super strong, and those are, and she will most likely be used in the dungeons I'm going to be farming after. I could consider skilling up her skill 3 as well. So claws, I want to be doing Ling Low, because if I want to go into the things that I want to farm after the 2x, she will be one of the better units, especially if this Will Spray is 2, like the higher chance of Will Spray in the first place, and this skill reduce is really nice as well. So one of those 2 options I will go for. So what is the next thing that I will be farming for? Well, I farmed an insane amount of modules at that point, and then you have to, of course, pair them with the right shells. I think Nico Nana is doable without a Shadow Sanya. It does use a Lily, however, but I think I will go for a Nico Nana Inferno team with Obol, Lily, Ling Lo, and a Chachi the guard. The G. Yeah, that's my Chachi the G. So Chachi the G, I did already max skill on the skill 3. Obol, I still have to do a few over here, so he will be getting those 2 as well. I will focus on this thing, and my Chachi the G is already fixed on the skill 3, and that's all you need for him to have like a lot of long-time immunity. I'll make a guide on the moment that I do have the Nico Nana Inferno team. But I think if that team works well over there, I have pretty high hopes that I can also do same team Hoyan. And with Hoyan, there's actually a whole bunch of stuff I do want to farm for. So too bad that there is no Swift Raid on the Jackal Guard, because that would be really nice. So therefore I have to go towards Aurora. And Aurora farming is also going to be an interesting one, because Aurora farming, I am pretty sure that I can do Aurora farming the moment that I have my Linglo fixed. So team that I'm going to be aiming for is the typical team with the thing that's looking like this. I did already fix my Viper for the skill 3 and the skill 2. And with this, I'm pretty sure I can farm that as well, especially if a Linglo is like on a bit of a better set than I currently have. Plus, what I can do is I can get Supernovas from Shadow Flame Hoyan, add those in here, and then I will have like definitely a bit of a better set for her. And then it's just like the typical Lily whatever. So those are pretty much my things that I'm aiming for right now. Trying to get a bunch of shells in, and then with those shells trying to get into Aurora. I think that is going to be my game plan. Which shells I'm exactly going to be farming? Well, it will be farming all 4 of those, because all 4 of those have some... Oh, wait, it actually comes from Sharon. But Sharon I can also do with the Chachi, the G. So I think I can already farm this the moment I give, like, good speedy gear. Jesus, hell! The fuck is even that? 20 speed, 10 speed, 12 speed, 3 speed, 9 speed, 10 speed, 15 speed. It's kind of crazy, but I think it's actually mostly because of this. So yeah, that's actually insane. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna try to do as well. I have a whole bunch of those Swift Raid cores right now, and I want to be fixing out the cores that are useful with that. I would have to double check which one can all hold the Swift Raid itself, because the Swift Raid is not that many from what I've actually noticed. Count can do a Swift Raid, that's good. I think that's... Codex of Magic can also do a Swift Raid. That's really good. I do have myself a fair bit of codexes. So I think that some of those I will be aiming for. Jackal Guard cannot have the Swift Raid, so that one doesn't work for me. So yeah, definitely will be working on some of those. I have seen people clear this already as well. It's not the most of sound team. And the thing is, if I do up my claws for this one, it will be a lot better. So if my claws is maxed and the hack-in values are higher, this stage does get a fair bit easier. So those are the kind of the things that I'm going to be aiming for. But I still need a little bit of upgrades for that. Also, if she gets like a full-on third line one over here, will be a lot better too. So there's definitely a bunch of options that I will be aiming for, and that might be really good. But those are my plans after 2x, but it is all still enabled by resetting that Romocha. So before the end of today, I will be resetting my Romocha. Also, I did notice I started off with like 50-something. I am probably not going to be able to put everything into Doki Doki, because my Doki Doki team does fail from time to time. With that, you have some time waste. With that, you have some downtime. So I will be trying to get the most amount in there as I possibly can. But anything of stability that I have left over will be straight into the GP Outpost. What GP Outpost am I going to be doing? Well, if I want to get Linglo in there, I have to farm a decent amount of odds, so I would do that. I can also already pre-farm Disorder for a potential Lily skill 3 or rebuilding my Heinrich. I will do a little bit of Constant because I'm also building a Vice, which is one of those characters that I definitely will be upping up later as well. For the claws itself, I wouldn't have to do it, because if I reset the Romocha, all of those green materials would go into the Romocha. But I'd just be kind of spreading out through all of the materials that I can do. Because sure, I could try to also do a little bit of farming in Termaton Hell 4 or Aurora Hell 4. Those are not that interesting for me. I'll farm those at a later point, because GP Outposts, left way around, right way around, you're gonna need the GP Outpost. So that's going to be my plan for the final bits of this thing. Let me actually know, for the people that had like 70, 80, or maybe even 90 of those stacked up, did you actually manage to get through all of them? Because I had, I think, like 55-ish or so. And it's the second day. There is about 16-ish hours left of the 2x. But getting through all of those, it takes a good amount of time. I think I might just manage, but it's definitely a fair amount of time that it takes. Well, that's my video for my recommendation for selling and upgrading your modules in the first place, and what I'm going to be doing after the tax. Hope you enjoyed this one, and hope to see you as always in the next one. Also, if there's any specific questions where you would like me to make guides or videos on, let me know in the comments as well, and you might be responsible for the next video. See ya! Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.